What's up, you guys? I'm Dan. This is Frugal Not Cheap, and some new challenges have come up with my plan to retire early in Thailand. And I can't believe how time flies. It's actually been 2 years now since I put up a video about my plan to retire early, taking advantage of geographic arbitrage in Thailand. The basic idea here is to move somewhere where you'll be happy, but also be saving a lot of money relative to your home country or whatever the country is that you're going to accumulate your savings in. However, it's not so simple as just accumulating enough wealth to retire and then packing up and moving. Now, if you're from a country like the United States where you're used to traveling to a lot of places without a visa, this may come as a surprise to you. But if you want to stay in a foreign country long term, you need to follow some rules and have a visa in order to be able to do that. As a resident, you'll need to conform to local laws, maybe pay taxes, and of course get health insurance coverage, things like that. Since I made that video 2 years ago, things have changed a little bit that make my plan to retire early into Thailand a little bit more challenging. Or more to the point, a little bit more expensive. So first, as I mentioned, you need a visa in order to stay long-term in Thailand. If you're at least 50 years of age or older, it's a little bit easier. There's a retirement visa, and you just have to show that you have enough assets in the bank basically every year, and then file a quarterly report. So that's relatively easy, but I'm not yet 50. In fact, I'm not yet 40, so that's also not a viable option for me. There are some other things out there, like there's this educational visa that you can get to study in Thailand. That can allow you to stay in the country for up to a year, but that system's gotten abused quite a bit, where people were, there for educational purposes, but weren't really attending classes and that kind of thing. And I'd be wanting to stay in Thailand for a lot more than a year anyway, so this is not a viable option for me either. The avenue that I've been looking at is what used to be called the Thai Elite Visa. This would allow you to stay in Thailand for X number of years, depending on which tier you bought. And the only requirement, again, would be, of course, to pass a background check and stuff like that, but mainly to pay for the visa. So it is kind of like what they call a golden visa, where you're making either some kind of a payment or an investment in order to get a visa to be to stay within a country. That's something that many countries have offered in order to try to get sort of wealthier retirees to come. And in some cases even citizenship as well. So there used to be a 20-year visa for the price of 1 million Thai baht. That's a little under $30,000, about 28,000. But the price of this top tier visa has been raised very significantly to 5 million baht. That's about $140,000, and it's now invite only. So it really is for a real, they took the name Elite Visa and they made this particular tier anyway, really for the elite. The 5-year visa, which had been 600,000 baht, or about $17,000, is now called the Gold Card. The price has been raised by 50% to 900,000 baht. That's about $25,000. So that's an option depending on exactly when I retire early in Thailand, but more likely I'd be looking at doing the 10-year visa. The 10-year is now called the Platinum Card. This would cost 1.5 million baht. That's about $42,000. But on a per year basis relative to the 5-year, it is a little bit cheaper per year. And then there is now a Diamond membership for 15 years for 2.5 million baht. This isn't something that I would need, and actually doesn't represent a good value on an annualized basis against the Gold Card. Still, all that said, the bottom line for me is that my cost to get a visa that would allow me to stay in Thailand has increased significantly from $28,000 to over $40,000. Another wrinkle that's come up is taxes. So the Thai Revenue Authority has decided to kind of change their interpretation, or I don't know, whatever, about a particular rule that had really been a loophole that had been abused by wealthy Thai tax residents, mostly their citizens. So it used to be the interpretation of the tax code that any foreign earned income by Thai tax residents or citizens, you'd only pay tax on that if you remitted it to Thailand in the same year that it was earned. In other words, the interpretation of the tax code allowed you to age those earnings by 1 year and thereby be able to bring them into Thailand without paying any taxes at all. So you can imagine that for wealthy Thai citizens that had offshore accounts in Hong Kong, in the United States, Singapore, other places, this is a great way for them to avoid paying tons of taxes. So they're closing this loophole, but unfortunately, people like I aspire to be, expats living in Thailand, are getting kind of caught in the net, or at least it looks that way. because a lot of our income then, of course, is domiciled offshore, not in Thailand. But then we do need to remit money into Thailand in order to pay for our living expenses. And so, whereas before there was no tax liability, so really no reason to get sort of like a tax ID or whatever, an identification number with the Revenue Department, now things may have changed, although it's still unclear. They put out this new interpretation, but there's still room for things to change, and it's only going to impact any remittances done in 2024, or more specifically, is going only to affect foreign earned income that is assessable by the tax authorities that is earned in 2024. So who is a tax resident? It's someone that's lived in Thailand for at least 180 days in a calendar year. And that's definitely going to be me, assuming this whole plan works out. And so I would be a Thai tax resident. And so I'll be very keen to follow developments on this matter to see if I'll need to file with the Revenue Department and how exactly the taxation is going to work. One of the good things, though, is that because cost of living in Thailand is so low, the amount of funds that I would be remitting to Thailand would be relatively low. That would be sort of subject to tax potentially. And then the other thing that really needs to be determined is, is that money really foreign earned income? Is that savings? And then if it is income, let's say, and I'm not able to show that it's savings, although it would be probably savings, and then still there's a double taxation treaty between the United States and Thailand. And so you'd end up just, I guess I'd just show them a credit for however much I had paid to the United States. So I'd have to, show documentation for that and then pay any remaining balance, if applicable, to the Thai authorities, I guess is how it would work out. So most likely it doesn't look like to me that in terms of tax anyway, to the Thai authorities, this would end up being something expensive. It may end up being, very, very minimal. However, if I do need to file those documents with the Thai tax authorities, then there would be a cost in employing a local CPA, basically, like a local lawyer or attorney or a local accountant, in order to do these filings for me properly. Because of course, I don't speak Thai, and I'm certainly not going to be learning how to speak and write Thai well enough to do these kinds of documents anytime soon. So again, overall, I don't think this is hugely impactful, but it could mean a little bit of additional paperwork, and so that is a small additional cost. And then lastly, we've got basically rising costs. It's healthcare and inflation. So when it comes to healthcare, the longer that I wait, the older that I will be, and that will mean that whatever premiums I'm offered by the insurance companies are going to be higher. It's best to kind of start and lock it in when you're young. But thankfully I'm not that old yet, so that's a good thing. And then the other one, of course, is inflation. And just like many countries, Thailand has also seen some inflation. According to Google's sort of AI-assisted search, as you can see, the annual inflation rates actually haven't been all that bad in recent years. Thailand was a country that locked down very strictly during the COVID pandemic because they didn't have the resources to get the expensive Moderna and Pfizer vaccines out to their population very rapidly. So the campaign was very long, and in order to protect their citizens, then they locked down much longer. Of course, that impacted tourism very harshly, and that's one of the big drivers in economic growth, amongst others, of course. There was a return to inflation in 2020, but at a pretty mild rate of about 1.something%. But then in 2022, inflation rose to over 6%. So that's quite significant, and have yet to see the numbers for 2023. But assuming there's been some continued inflation there, hopefully the inflation rate has slowed down from that level. So inflation is always going to be something to battle, but it is something that we're having to battle here in the United States as well. And the higher the inflation has been, then that's also meant that all else equal, in real terms anyway, it's been harder to put away savings to fund this early retirement in Thailand. But despite these three new challenges of the more expensive visa, the potential tax filing costs, and also potential actual tax costs, and then rising costs overall. The plan is still extremely viable. Costs remain much lower in Thailand than they are in the United States. In fact, I watched a YouTube video from this guy, this channel, World According to Briggs. Some of his videos are really kind of a lot of fun. And he was talking about sort of, the top 10 countries in his view in terms of low cost of living that people might actually want to retire to. And of course, he mentioned some countries in Southeast Asia, such as the Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, and you guessed it, Thailand as well. So pretty cool timing. I just watched that video a few hours before filming today's video. And again, I'm still very hopeful about this, taking advantage of geographic arbitrage to live a great life in early retirement in the country of Thailand. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you celebrated, by the way, I'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas. If you want to see more videos like these, then do consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.